Welcome to another edition of Treasure Tuesdays. Ooh, it's good to be here. And guess what? My kitty cat has got my back. Very cute. If you're somebody who feels trapped in some area of your life, then keep watching. We're going to talk about the anatomy of freedom today and how you can utilize this perspective to genuinely be free. Like, completely, absolutely be free. Does that sound good? I hope so. All right, so before I begin, I am dedicating this video to my dear soul brother, Jake, who left his body last Tuesday. And I've just been learning a lot about life in his departure, the arrival of a lot of awarenesses have taken place, and wow, just amazing what a little wake-up call can do. Like a dear one dying at the age of 42. He was sick for a long time, but still jarring. What I've been sitting with and discovering through these waves of grief, you know, I've just been going so interesting because I'm having all this joy with the launch of Mindful YouTube University, so many amazing people registering and just getting to connect with awesome souls, and I'm just loving creating the program, and then in the next moment I am thinking about Jake and just his last words, you know, our last conversation, or just how fleeting life is, and the next minute I'm in tears. So I've been going through this process of both feeling equally delicious, which is so awesome. It's so different from how I used to grieve or how I used to experience the dark side. The joy and the pain both feel equally delightful to me right now. Maybe not delightful, but enjoyable. Strange, I know. Today I want to share with you, I've been out here on the hammock, like just writing, and what came to me was that there are different types of freedom. There's actually an anatomy to freedom. So there are three forms of freedom. There is soul freedom, there's body freedom, and there is mental freedom. Soul freedom is what we all strive for, right? On the spiritual path. It's what yoga is about. It is for spiritual liberation, or moksha. We're going to talk about that. And then there is physical. The body basically is constantly seeking physical freedom. And this is awesome. As human beings, we want to be free, right? The freedom to eat what we want, the freedom to live where we want, the freedom to dance, the freedom to have sex, the freedom to, basically, the body is constantly chasing pleasure, the freedom to choose what feels good, and it's constantly trying to avoid pain. Then there's the mind, right? And the mind is, freedom of the mind is related to freedom of speech, freedom of thought, the freedom to imagine, the freedom to prefer things, the freedom to ask for what you want. And the interesting thing about all three of these is that spiritual freedom, I'm going to talk about at the end, but the bottom two, the physical and the mental, are awesome, right? To have freedom in both of those areas, you know, to have financial freedom and location freedom and all the things that we want to create to have this great lifestyle, but they're fleeting, they're temporary. Okay, and there are binds connected with both of those. So there's no way to attain actual freedom by solely chasing the physical and the mental freedom. There has to be a focus on soul freedom. Soul freedom is what will deliver each of us to ultimate freedom, right? It's not fleeting. It's what we carry with us. When we chase the bottom two, whether it's physical freedom or mental freedom or both, it's what leads us to feeling lost when we're not also including soul freedom, spiritual freedom. So the binds in both of the bottom ones, the physical and the mental, the bind of the physical could be addiction, like addiction to sex, addiction to money, addiction to food, you know, all these physical addictions, right? When we're chasing pleasure and avoiding pain. And then the bind of the mental freedom, the mind that seeks mental freedom, that seeks the freedom of expression, to think what you want, to say what you want, to prefer what you want, to ask for what you want, is that the bind there are expectations. When you expect that the world is going to yield to what you want. And when the world doesn't yield to what you want, you suffer. That's a bind because it's conditional. Same with the physical. If you expect that eating a pint of ice cream 5 times today is going to give you satisfaction, you're going to suffer because it's not the ice cream that's giving you the satisfaction. All right, the Blessed Shankaracharya talks about this a lot. You may experience joy eating pie, eating, oh God, it's so good. Oh yeah, so good. This pie is so good. Then you have like a 5th piece and you're like, rah. The joy you experience from eating the pie, as he says, doesn't come from the pie. It comes from somewhere else. The joy is inside of you. So when we think and get lost in the idea that what we seek is outside of ourselves, it is how we bind ourselves and feel totally lost. Now, on the flip side, when we migrate our focus and our purpose and our North Star to something that is soul-based, now we are inviting in transformation. We're inviting in what we are literally here on this earth, on this planet to experience, which is spiritual liberation, all the while enjoying the joys of being human and having a mind and a body, right? Having a personality and a body. So how do we dive into, how do we experience soul freedom? And what is soul freedom? What is spiritual liberation? So it's basically, the difference here is that, first of all, the soul's not visible, right? It's not something we can touch or tangibly see, but we feel it. You know when you're on your soul path, it just feels right. Everything feels in the flow. And the difference here is that the soul is about unconditional love. It's about unconditional freedom. So there have been countless examples of people like Viktor Frankl in jail, got in jail. That would have been beautiful in comparison, in the Holocaust, who wrote A Man's Search for Meaning, and he experienced freedom within the Holocaust, right? He was touching in the soul. He was basing freedom not on what was happening to him on the outside, but it was something he could touch on the inside, and it was not based on outer conditions. This is how you find freedom in your life. This is how you find freedom. And so I'll give you a personal example. I notice in my life that there's certain people in my life who have expectations, and they typically aren't close friends or close family because this doesn't work for me. It's like there's this expectation, like if I send you an email, you have to send one right back, or if I call you, you need to call right back. It's my anniversary, or it's this or it's that. If you don't send me a card, I'm not going to love you anymore. I'm going to be really angry. That's conditional love. That's conditional connection. And it's what our whole world is designed, has all these programs like, oh, the way you show love is like this. And if you don't do it this way, and that's where that attachment comes. So let's say you get a nice card in the mail, you feel really good. Oh, that person loves me. That is physical love. It's limited love. It's limited freedom, because you may have asked, oh yeah, she knows I want her to write me a card, and she did it. Yay, that I feel so good. Like she paid attention to me. I feel powerful. That's not true freedom. True freedom is if you are facing something in life and life doesn't give you everything you want. Life isn't always delicious. Life isn't always the way you want it to be. And this has taken me so many years to wrap my little brain around, okay? Especially in relationship, like God praise Jason, seriously, like hallelujah for this man. I have learned so much through our sacred marriage, I can't even tell you. And I'm so grateful because he doesn't give me what I want all the time. He doesn't give me the things that I have thought that I really needed. And in that, we have a commitment to, and we are living and blossoming together into genuine freedom that we will each carry with us beyond this body. Okay, this body is going to die, right? It's going to be buried. No one's going to even know who I am or have a clue or even care about me when my body's gone and however many years pass. That's the reality. This is temporary. This is very cool and awesome that I get to be in this Veronica thing for a while, but it is totally temporary. So it's really important to remember that. It's really important to ask yourself, okay, well, what is not temporary? What do I have forever? And the only thing you have forever is your state. All right? So this is the treasure tool right here. Your state of being is not dependent on outer conditions if you are focused on soul liberation, okay? If you are coming from soul liberation, then you will use everything in your life that triggers the shabib out of you to come to genuine freedom, rather than blaming someone else and expecting the world out there to be exactly the way you want it to be or your ego wants it to be. Then, and this may seem harsh to some people, it definitely felt very harsh to me. And it's the wake-up call that's necessary to no longer spin our wheels feeling lost, but arrive home, 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 before leaving the body, before dying, right? Like we can experience that sense of home while being here, that sense of freedom. Rather than, like, if you're somebody who's constantly triggered by people, this is probably why, because you may be so focused on the physical and mental freedom that you're missing the soul freedom, right? And so once you integrate this piece, once we integrate this piece, woohoo, we have a formula for genuine freedom. That's the complete anatomy of freedom. So the treasure tool, the way to apply this in your life is, number one, how do you feel freedom? How do you feel at home in each moment, rather than feeling lost and triggered by the conditions of life not matching what you want, right? Because there's no way to control that. You know, that's the bottom line. At some point you realize along your journey, oh my God, I'm not in control. Holy shit. Pardon my language, Shabib. And that is a beautiful place to be. It's a very humbling place to be. It's something that happened in my heart a few months ago with Jason, my partner, my beloved. When we were at the ashram, it just, this is really honest, and I'll just tell you, but it was like it just hit me really hard. I was triggered by something, and we were in the bathroom at the ashram, and I looked at him and I just said, this, like, life isn't at all what I thought it would be, you know? It's not what the movies told me it would be. It's not what I thought it would be. And I just felt so disappointed. And it wasn't me complaining, it was coming from a very different place. It was a confession. And these aren't tears of upset, these are tears of freedom, because he looked at me with such understanding and he was like, I know. And when we wake up out of the Disney movie and the lie that someday some guy on a white horse is going to save you from all your struggles, or some bank balance is going to save you from your struggles, or something in the future is going to rescue you, something outside of you is going to rescue you, then you're free. When you realize that that's all BS. And I wrote a poem many years ago about this called No One Is Coming, and I should share it with you guys one day, but it's so freeing. So bottom line is, what do you do when you get triggered? How do you experience genuine freedom so you can really be happy, right? Really feel at peace, really feel good in your life no matter what happens on the outside. And the key is, I'm going to give you one key. There's many, but I'll give you the 5 right here, right now. Okay, it's what I use in the diamond process. It's what I call the 5 A's of the diamond self. And ultimately, it's all designed to bring us back home to the moment. Okay, the 5 A's are awareness. When you are aware, physically, like, feel your body rather than lost in thought. When you can see life happening from the witness rather than getting lost in the story, like, let's say someone hurts you in some way, rather than getting stuck in the story, they did this to me, and you kind of come out of it and just see it as if I'm watching Veronica, this character, from above, and the person and everyone else. It's seeing things from an audience perspective, or from a neutral witness. Okay, that's awareness. That's when we start waking up, when we start coming out of this temporary reality, the physical body, the personality, the mind, and we start migrating to the soul, to the higher self, to the diamond self. The second A, the second attribute of the diamond self, is authenticity. If we're authentic, There's no way to, it's just a powerful way to connect with the soul, to be who you really are. For example, somebody who expects me to reply to an email just because they sent one, that's not authentic for me right now. I have a lot going on, not doing it. Sorry, that may seem harsh to that person. It doesn't negate the love I have, but it would be disauthentic for me to send them an email just to please them, because I'm just pleasing. Who am I pleasing? I'm pleasing their physical self or their mental self. I'm actually not helping them to look at, why am I upset? Why is everything so conditional? Why am I so dependent on outer circumstances, right? I'm not actually benefiting them by pretending. So when we're authentic in the grand scheme of things, it actually brings liberation. It actually can invite a higher possibility, a soul liberation, right? And of course, it's being kind and loving and caring, all the while honoring who are you and what's your truth, and lead from that place as kindly and lovingly as possible. Okay, so if we have awareness, we have authenticity, and we have allowance. Allow life to move as it moves. Allow the current of life, the winds, the trees, everything to move the way it's moving, including yourself, including people, including everything. It doesn't mean if someone's hitting you to stand there, I'm just going to allow this. No, you also employ authenticity. What's authentic is, that's not okay for me. So you get up and you walk away, or you punch them back, whatever. That's a joke. But, just allowing life to move as it moves rather than controlling, constricting, trying to control what you can't control, right? What you can control, you respond to and you do what you can. But starting to allow, can you allow this feeling in your body to exist? That's a large part of the diamond process. Can you allow the chime to make the sound it's making right now? Then we move into the fourth, which is acceptance. This is taking allowance to the next level. This is about embracing. This is about radical surrender. This is about radical acceptance, loving yourself as you are, loving your flaws, accepting yourself without trying to continuously change yourself to fit some mold, right? Beating yourself up to be something that you're not, or, in order to be liked or whatnot. It's just accepting yourself and others and knowing that we're all human. That's just like a sliver of acceptance, but it's a really powerful way to come into surrender. And the fifth is appreciation, to appreciate what you have, appreciate your life, appreciate what's tangibly here, appreciate the breath that is moving in and out of your body right now. One thing Jake taught me was, at the end of his life, the last conversation I had with him was, he said, it's really crazy, but all my pleasures are being taken away. He loved food. He loved a lot of things. He was a pleasure seeker, he loved a lot of pleasure. And he said, I can't eat the same foods because he was like 60 something pounds, I think, or 80. I don't know. He was tiny. And his body just wasn't digesting. And I could see that literally at some point, life takes away all the things that we deem really valuable and important. One by one, they just started getting stripped away from him really slowly. And through that process, he was forced to reconcile and come to his soul, to land in his soul. And fortunately, he did. Apparently, by the end, his last breath was taken in lotus position, sitting up in meditation. So, as painful as it can seem, the spiritual path, it's an excruciating joy, because it's like we've been acorn. This is how I see it. It's like I've been an acorn my whole life. And waking up to these things, like what I experienced with Jason in the bathroom that day, like, oh my God, life isn't what I expected. That was the first crack, not the first, but that was one big crack where it's like, oh, it's painful for the acorn, for that oak tree to start coming out of the acorn, It's a painful feeling, because we're so accustomed to that safety of the shell, but it requires the cracking open of what we think life is about into the reality of freedom, into the true soul freedom, where we can actually become our full potential and blossom into that oak tree that has to risk everything by being a sprout for a while in a very, tending to be a harsh world, a harsh reality. It takes moving through that consciously to wake up to that unconditional, rooted in my own self as a tree, a powerful presence through the winds, through the storms. And it takes applying these 5 A's of the diamond self, which, again, are awareness. And breath is a big part of that, of awareness too, to breathe. Rather than thinking, overthinking, be aware in a neutral way. Breathe. See life as it moves without labeling everything, separating everything. Authenticity, being who you really are, expressing yourself, allowing life to move as it moves, accepting yourself and others as we are. Doesn't mean you have to justify negative actions, but just accept what is, right? Without fighting it all the time. And appreciating what's here, appreciating what you have now, appreciating that if we have the power within us right now and the gusto and the life force, why not use it to wake the F up? Seriously. My eyes are so puffy from all this crying and stuff, but I feel like some powerful thing is emerging right now. And when I say wake the F up, I'm saying wake the fabulousness up. The soul fab that is inside of you. All right, my friend, I hope this serves you in some way. I don't have time to edit this, but I do have time to send so much love and light to each of you, to our souls, knowing that together we are waking up, rising up, and I'm grateful. I'm just deeply grateful for the wake-up calls that come in disguises. Mwah!